We've built a complete governance capability. This final module adds the last piece, proving it actually works, through assurance and audit, and then looks ahead to where this field, and your career in it, are going. Imagine the moment it all gets tested. A regulator asks to see your compliance. A major customer's procurement team asks how you govern AI before they'll sign. Your own board asks whether the company is exposed. Each of them is really saying the same thing: show me. And here's the hard truth: a governance program you cannot evidence is, to a regulator or a buyer, a program that does not exist. It doesn't matter how good your intentions were. Assurance is the discipline that turns "we govern AI" into "here is the proof." That's what this module is about, making your governance demonstrable. Let's untangle three words people use interchangeably, because they're genuinely different. Governance is doing the right things, it's the program itself, everything we've built so far. Assurance is confidence, justified confidence that you actually are doing those things effectively, backed by evidence and evaluation. And audit is independent verification, a formal check of your program against a defined standard. So the relationship is, governance is the work, assurance is the goal, the confidence you're after, and audit is one of the main tools you use to get there. Audit is a means, assurance is the end, governance is the thing being assured. Keep those straight and a lot of confusing conversations get clearer. AI audits come in three types, distinguished by independence. First party, or internal, you audit yourself. It's the cheapest and the most frequent, but it's also the least independent, you're marking your own homework. Second party, someone with a stake in you audits you, typically a customer running due diligence before they buy. And third party, or independent, an accredited external body audits you, which is the most credible because they have no stake in the answer. The pattern is simple: more independence means more credibility, but also more cost and effort. So you match the level to the stakes and to who's asking. Your board might accept an internal audit, a regulator or a major enterprise customer will want independent verification. There's an important distinction in what you audit. A management system audit, like ISO 42001, checks your overall program. Do you have the processes, the roles, the documentation? An algorithmic audit is narrower and more technical. It examines a specific model's actual behavior, its bias and disparate impact, its accuracy across different groups, its robustness, its explainability. And some algorithmic audits are legally mandatory. The clearest example, which we keep returning to, is New York City's Local Law 144. It requires an independent bias audit of automated employment decision tools, and the results have to be published. So for Helios's hiring tool, this isn't optional, it's a specific, legally required, published algorithmic audit. Two formal proof mechanisms will increasingly define this space, and it's worth being clear on how they differ. ISO 42001 certification is independent proof that your management system meets the standard. It's voluntary, but market-driven customers are starting to require it. EU AI Act conformity assessment is mandatory, pre-market proof that a specific high-risk system meets the law before you can deploy it. So one proves how you manage AI across the organization, the other proves a specific product is lawful. They operate at different levels, program versus product, and increasingly, for a high-risk system sold into Europe, you'll need both. One reassures your customers, the other keeps you legal. An entire AI assurance profession is forming around all of this, and quickly. ISACA has launched the Advanced in AI Audit Credential, the AAIA, along with audit guidance. For Humanity develops independent audit criteria and trains certified auditors specifically for AI systems. Firms like Babel AI offer algorithmic auditing and bias audit services. And accredited certification bodies handle ISO 42001. If this feels familiar, it should. It's exactly how financial auditing matured a century ago, and how cybersecurity assurance matured over the last 2 decades. AI is now walking the same road, just much faster. A whole new professional services market is being built in real time. Let me give you the single most useful predictive insight in this module. AI governance is following a well-worn path, the same one privacy and cybersecurity already walked. That path goes, First, principles. Then, defined controls. Then, required evidence. And finally, independent attestation. Privacy and security are mature, think ISO 2 reports, ISO 27001 certificates, and AI governance is just a few steps behind them on the identical trajectory, moving fast. Why does this matter to you? Because it tells you what's coming, and it tells you what to do now. Start building your evidence base today. The organizations that treat AI governance as evidence-based and attestable now are investing ahead of a curve that is absolutely going to arrive. Let's close Helios's story. Helios brings in an independent auditor to examine the hiring tool. The auditor reruns the bias metrics, inspects the model card, tests whether the human oversight is actually effective, not just on paper, and checks that the candidate recourse path really works. The result: the tool passes the bias audit, and those results are publishable for New York City's Local Law 144. There's one finding: a gap in how oversight decisions were logged, which Helios remediates. And the whole thing gets assembled into an evidence pack for its EU AI Act file. The loop finally closes. Helios didn't just govern its AI, it had that governance independently proven, and now it's ready for the regulator, the customer, and the board. That's the complete picture. Now let's turn to the path forward, starting with people. AI literacy used to be a nice-to-have. As of February 2025, under the EU AI Act, it's a legal duty. Providers and deployers must ensure their staff have a sufficient level of AI literacy. Picture a training pyramid. Everyone needs the basics: what AI is, what the risks are, the acceptable use rules. The people who build and deploy AI need role-specific governance training. And leaders need to understand risk and their own accountability. The lesson is that culture and competence aren't soft extras anymore. One of them, basic AI literacy across your workforce, is now something the law actually requires you to provide. Two things make a governance program durable rather than performative. First, embedding UEV governance into the workflows that already exist, instead of bolting it on as a separate hoop. Into the software development lifecycle as gates. Into procurement as vendor checks. Into project intake as risk triage. Governance that lives outside the workflow gets bypassed under deadline pressure. Governance that's built into the workflow just happens. Second, measurement. Track metrics: what % of your AI inventory is complete, what % of high-risk systems have been assessed, your mean time to remediate a finding, audit findings closed, incidents. Because here's the organizational reality: governance with metrics gets funded and taken seriously. Governance without metrics is just an opinion competing with other opinions. Let's talk about you and your career, because this is a brand new profession with demand outpacing supply. The credentials map to different roles. The IAPP's AIGP, the AI governance professional, is the broad credential covering policy, risk, legal, and program management. It's the one this course is most closely aligned to. ISO 42001 lead implementer and lead auditor are for people who build or audit the management system specifically. And ISACA's AAIA is for AI audit specialists. And notice the on-ramps: people are converging on AI governance from privacy, from security, from risk, from legal, and from machine learning engineering. Whatever your background, there's a path in, and right now, the field needs far more qualified people than it has. Where is all of this going? 5 things to watch. Agentic governance, controls for autonomous systems, is the hot frontier, evolving month to month. AI assurance is maturing into a real profession, with audit and attestation markets forming around it. There's an ongoing tension between convergence, international efforts pulling toward common standards, and fragmentation, as individual nations go their own way. That tug-of-war will shape the next few years. On top of the horizontal laws we've covered, expect deeper sector-specific rules in finance and healthcare especially, and growing attention to AI's sustainability and environmental footprint. And the biggest shift of all, the one that defines 2026, the field is moving from writing policies to actually running them at scale. The whole discipline is graduating from "should we govern AI" to "how do we govern it continuously, across hundreds of systems, in production." And that brings us to the end. Look at the journey you've taken. You started with the foundations and the risks. You grounded yourself in the principles. You learned the regulations, the frameworks, and the standards. You built a governance program, ran risk and impact assessments, and governed the full lifecycle. You took on the frontier of generative and agentic AI. And you finished by learning to prove it all through assurance and audit. Helios traveled that same road with you, from an ungoverned, biased hiring tool to a governed, audited, defensible program. You can now understand, build, run, and prove AI governance. This field genuinely needs people who can do this work, and now you're one of them. So go build it. Thank you for taking this course. If it helped, subscribe for more, and good luck out there.